The human body can go through incredible situations and conditions and still survive. But there are tools that you need. They're not a lot, but there are some tools that can really mean the difference between life and death or bodily injury. And so we're going to take a look today at the top items that you need in a survival situation. These are not brand specific. They're not something that are just my favorites. Anything that you have a different brand of that'll suit the same purpose, is up to you to put together. But a lot of times these survival bags and bug out bags and things like that get so complicated that we really need just to kind of pare it down to the top items. Now I tried to make this list just the top 10, but after going through it there were some items really that kept kind of haunting me, so I thought 15 items would be it, and so I put together 15 items. The top 10 I'm going to list, not necessarily in a specific order, but these are items that you're going to need in a extreme survival situation. But I always base my survival philosophy on the rule of threes. And this is the time it takes to survive without these items. And the first is 3 seconds without hope. And putting together some kind of plan gives you a basis for hope. 3 minutes without air, 3 hours in harsh conditions, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. Medical supplies transcend all that. They could be used at any time, needed at any time, and your ability to defend yourself as well. So that's really what I kind of put together, all my kits, all my plans. First thing on the list is a first aid kit and actually a trauma kit. Just having a boo-boo kit's not enough. A couple of things that you really want in here is some kind of tourniquet, and I have a cat tourniquet, some compression gauze, things like that. Having a trauma kit, you can get one kind of small like this. They're fairly reasonable, but they definitely can save your life until you can get professional medical help. I got this one from Skinny Medic, just where I got it, and he's a good buddy of mine. But these kits are vital, and that is number one. Number two is some kind of poncho or tarp. And you can get either something blue like this. I have a olive drab one and I have a camo one that are pretty cool. One of the things I like to do though is have one with the emergency or mylar interior. And this can be used for signaling, but it definitely gives you warmth. And one of the reasons why this is number two is because you can only live 3 hours in harsh conditions. And this will wrap you up and get you through those 3 hours. These can also be used for shelter, and they do have eyelets. And it can be a ground cover to keep you warm. There are so many reasons why having a poncho or a tarp or even a heavy meal trash bags. One of the things I always keep in my kits. You can do a lot with that as well. Number three is a fire kit. Multiple ways to make fire. And I have a lot of different things in here. Lighter, I have a butane lighter, I have a fire steel, I have waterproof matches, I have a knife for the striker in case I need it, or to cut a little bit of tinder or whatever. I do have Vaseline and cotton balls as my fire starter. These are awesome, they're easy to make, they're cheap to make. Well, I have a tea light candle. But one thing that's a little bit unique is I put some wood in here. Now you can use fat wood or whatever. This gives you a little bit more burn time than just the Vaseline and cotton balls. But this is called Fierce Fire. It's from my good friend from Tender Torch, Ingalls Creek Wilderness Outfitters. I did a review on his Tender Torch wood. It was phenomenal. This Fierce Fire is even better. So this is just something that I really like to have a little extra, because I'm going to tell you guys, and if you've ever tried to start fires in rough conditions or just regular camping or setting up a bonfire, sometimes fire can be difficult to put together, and having multiple ways is a great thing for survival. And I keep everything in this little kit, this little Maxpedition EDC kit. I have about 2 or 3 of these that I like to keep around. But do you have to have a fire kit? No, just have a means to make fire. Next is some way to purify water. I personally like filter straws, even a Katadyn Hiker Pro or Sawyer Mini, or there's so many different ones that you can get, or just some Clorox and boil the water, whatever. There's a number of different ways to purify water. But I really like the filter straws because it gets out a lot of the microbials. This is a Renovo Trio. It is excellent, but I do have others, and so whatever fits. One thing that if you really want to go minimal is a little Frontier filter straw, and they'll filter about 20 gallons of water, and that'll get you through. But there are iodine tablets. There's a bazillion ways, but without any way, you're going to have a hard time. And the last thing you want to do is get sick drinking water that's not really pure. And because water is so important in the rule of threes, you also need something to carry that water, some kind of container. And so I have a little canteen here, but this actually has a filter built in, but I didn't want to, it's a little redundant, but I didn't want to add it into the list. But some kind of canteen, and really it's great to have some kind of little cup. And the reason for the cup is if you need to boil the water. So, you know, it's just one of the aluminum GI cups. And as you can see, it's very well used. But these are invaluable, and they fit perfectly with your canteen or any kind of metal container that doesn't have plastic, and then you can keep these clean. So this is something to me that's really vital. Plus, if you need to cook food, whatever, right here. And this canteen with the filter is an indoor filter system, and I have done a review on this previously, but the filter's built into the lid. It's a great little thing, but again, container. Good fixed blade knife, one that you can actually do some field work with, and this one is definitely one of those. This was actually made by G-Code a few years ago, and these are no longer being produced. So it doesn't really matter about the knife, but something with a holster or a sheath, a good, strong field knife. And this can be used for so many different tasks, but I can actually baton wood and things like that, even chop if I need to. But plus, this can also be used in a self-defense situation if needed. Now, in the rule of threes, you can live 3 weeks without food, but you can't keep up your energy and your mental acuity unless you have something going and keeping food in your system. This really gives you a lot. Plus, it builds morale as well. So, some kind of food. I like really getting the SOS emergency bars. This is lifeboat food. It's actually really tasty, and it has a 5-year shelf life as it is. So this is just a smart way to go. To me, it's heavy. So if you want to kind of rotate Cliff Bars out and things like that, you can do that as well. There's a lot of options, just keeping a little bit of food handy. A flashlight is invaluable, especially in the dark, being able to see. Batteries are not part of the list, it's just you need to have extra batteries. Now I picked this little O-light for a specific reason. It is one of the S2 batons. I'm really a big O-light fan. But one of the things about this light, I kind of back and forth this with a headlamp, because, you know, headlamps give you hands-free. But one of the things you can do with this is take your ball cap, if you have one, and put the light on here, and to be able to use it, you know, and that just makes it really cool. So if you're going to go with a really cheap flashlight or some kind of light source, you may want to go straight with a headlamp. But there's a lot of different light options. This is just one that I happen to have and that would fit on the ball cap. Now for number 9, I had to really think about this one. And a shemagh or a bandana is really critical if you're in a smoky environment, if you're in a environment like with 9/11 where there was dust everywhere, being able to breathe, and especially if you're on the go, if you're running, but having something to cover your face, plus this will cover your head. There's a lot of different uses for this, but the reason why this is on the list where it is it definitely would help with kind of filtering your air a little bit. But there are a bazillion uses. In fact, I think I did 50 uses of a bandana, which would also fit with the shemagh as well. But yeah, it can cover your head, it can keep you cool, it can keep you warm. So a lot of good reasons for a shemagh or a bandana. You may need to cover your face to hide your identity, just according to the situation. Not something unlawful, but you just might need to. Now, being able to carry your items is really important, and I wanted to put that in the top 10 list. You can get a big bag like this. This is a VanQuest Trident and 20. This is a great bag, a lot of features. It's really big. Or you can go with like a gear slinger, this Maxpedition that has just the one strap that fits around. These are really handy, easy to take off, easy to get into. Or one of these County Com bags, which is something just definitely different. I love this little bag. It doesn't have a lot of compartments and a lot of things like that, but it is a super cool bag, and it's real incognito. So, but there's a bazillion other bags. This is just some options, and you put them in a grocery bag if you need to. But having something to be able to carry them is critical. Get you a good bag, a lot better than this. Now we're into the last 5 items, and I'm not really going to put these in order as much because all of them are really just about equally important according to the situation. First is a multi-tool. having some sort of, this is an SOG, but having a really good multi-tool. There's so many different things you can do with these. And you have your knife, a saw, and pliers, and all the other things. So, good multi-tool. And paracord, having some sort of cordage in a survival situation. There's just so many uses. This is one of the spool tools. I have it on, but you can, wrap it up around a dowel rod or just have a wad of it. But you can also use regular cotton string. You can use whatever you can use for tying down. The paracord is a little more expensive, and make sure you get these at least 7-strand military spec stuff. I think they've even gone to 9 strands now. There's so many different things you can do with it. But if you just have some sort of cordage, you'd need cordage. Duct tape. Duct tape's a big one. There's a bazillion things you can do with duct tape. So that's one of my top 15. But the Gorilla Tape's really strong. You don't necessarily need a roll this big. In fact, I would say don't get a roll this big. But this is for my shop, so duct tape. Next would be an axe. An axe, especially in a situation where you need to cut through, you need to build a shelter, you need wood, you're in an urban environment and you need to get into a building or out of a building. A good axe is really great to have so many uses. This is one of the CRKT axes, very well made. I'm actually getting ready to review this axe specifically, so it's not even been marred. But I do have the Zippo 3-in-1. It has a saw blade with it. It has this hammer at the back. The axe is just excellent. And I went through a whole review on this, and I was very impressed. In fact, this has found a permanent place in my truck. So the Zippo 3-in-1 tool is kind of a bunch of different features, and so I really like it. But a good solid axe you just can't beat. Now the final item on the list is a firearm. If you're not a concealed carry holder, or if you don't have a firearm, this would be really closer in the list. The reason why I put these at the bottom of the list was if you're in a really high stress situation, civil unrest, looting, things like that, a good shotgun's hard to beat. And it also is great for hunting. You don't have to aim as much for bird, different things like that. You're going to be able to have a little more advantage over, let's say, this 22 rifle. This is a 12 gauge, but you can go with different gauges, whatever you feel comfortable with. This is a TriStar Tactical 18-inch 12 gauge Marine Coat. This is a great shotgun. I'm getting ready to do a review on it. But whatever shotgun you want to pick. I mean, a Mossberg 500 or Remington 870, whatever. As far as 22 rifles is another option. One of the things about 22 is it's quiet, it's very cheap, it's easy to carry a lot of ammo. The one thing about this, this is one of the U.S. survival rifles by Henry Arms, but this is still a great option in 22. So it's just according to what direction you want to go in, and this will still be a good self-defense option if you need it. Not quite as effective as a 12 gauge. But so either 22 or 12 gauge, something for hunting and for more of a self-defense type firearm. And definitely don't forget your ammo. And that's my top 15 items. There's definitely a lot of things like head cover, glasses. I mean, there's just a bazillion things you can do, but then we're getting into bug out bags. But this will get you hopefully home. And that's really the big thing. Survive and thrive. And so, guys, in the world we live in, whether it's environmental disasters, whether it's civil unrest because of racial tension, whether it's a terrorist act, just having these things available to you, have them packed somewhere, it's just sensible. And not only for yourself, but also do it for those you love. Now, I'm going to assume that you're dressed for conditions, that you have an EDC with you. That's not necessarily mandatory, but whether it's your flashlight, your wallet, your phone, a knife, and of course if you're a concealed carry holder, your handgun. One thing that's really critical is to always kind of keep a good pair of shoes either on your feet or in your vehicle. So while this isn't the end all, there's a lot of other items that would aid you in survival. These to me are the top 15. If you have other options, please list them down below in the comments. It's always great to see the different ideas that come out through the comments, and a lot of guys read those. And of course I always get the nut jobs who come on here and say that this is dumb to put all this together, I'm a paranoid freak and blah blah blah. Yeah, when the survival situation hits you, don't come knocking on my door. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America, long live the Republic. Now number 10 on the list is a firearm. I would not put this number, okay. Now number 15 on the list is this is it. Now the final item on the list is a firearm. We're going to be a little redundant and have those as well, alright, well. There's so many different ways to look at it, okay, that you need for a survival problem.